What's going on, people? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown here, coming to you live. As you know, it is fight week. Usyk versus AJ2 happening this weekend, man. Saudi Arabia. I forgot what is it? The War on the Red Sea or something like that. I can't remember what the title is, but listen, it's all about this weekend, man. AJ and Usyk 2. And I just thought I'd do a live stream, just to give you guys my thoughts. I'm going to bring out a bit more content this week. And I wanted to kind of break down this rematch and get your opinion as to how you think it's going to go. Obviously, we're going to be doing that in detail throughout the week. But I just thought, you know what, I've got a bit of time today. So let me just jump online, hear what you guys have got to say. I'll offer my opinion as well. How do we actually see this going, man? Huge fight, and a massive one for AJ in particular, man, because if he loses this, where does he go from here? That's the big question that I'm hearing all over social media. Where does he go if he loses and loses in a convincing fashion? Is that the end of Anthony Joshua? Now, I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Obviously, we've got the fight to come. But yeah, I just want to hear what you guys think about the fight, breaking it down. Obviously, we all saw the first fight, how that went. AJ beat him pretty comprehensively, in my opinion, there. And, he's got a lot to do in this rematch to regain his belts. But he's been here before. He's lost comprehensively before, albeit a different type of opponent, totally different. He knew what to do in the rematch there. However, this is a significant challenge in Alexander Usyk, man. And will AJ be able to do it? First of all, let me shout out to everybody in the comments, of course. All you guys, man, big up to you all. If you guys enter, obviously you know what to do. Hit the like button on the way in. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've already seen some comments in here. Shout out to my man, IB. He's put here, good evening, gents. Laurie, could you celebrate in front of Daryl right now like T.O. Senior? As you guys can see, Laurie's not here today. He's going to be on the show on Wednesday, IB. I just thought, you know what, this was off the cuff. I just thought I had a bit of time today. Laurie's too busy, got commitments at work today. So I'm just going to jump on and give my opinion on it. And Laurie, he'll be on Wednesday as usual. So look out for that. And even when he is on IB, he's not going to do that. Even if he was, because first of all, we operate on split screens, so we're in different locations, so he wouldn't be able to do that, and also he wouldn't do that anyway. Do you know what I mean? He would not do. He don't like T.O. Senior, as you know, so you'd be very hard pressed to get Laurie to do that. Even if we were together, I couldn't see him doing that. Big up Ian Hamilton in the building. He's put good evening all. I missed last week's show as I was on holiday, but now I'm back. Big fight week. Let's get this started. Big up Ian Hamilton. Of course, the show will be on Wednesday, myself and Laurie, but this is just me jumping on, giving my opinion on the fight and hopefully getting yours as well. Big up to Francisco, as always, man. Now, before we jump into AJ and Usyk, we're going to be talking about that. Let's talk about the news that broke today about Adrian Broner pulling out of his clash against Omar Figueroa. That was also scheduled for this weekend. Adrian Broner citing mental health issues as the reason why he's pulled out of this fight with Omar Figueroa. Yeah, kind of took me a little bit, but then when you think about it deep down, it's not really surprising, man. We could all see Broner is kind of going through it a little bit, man. If you follow his social media, you can tell that, like, just some of the things he posts. I mean, he's always been a bit crazy on social media, but, he's been speaking about this mental health situation before. And some of the posts, man, he seemed very emotional at times. And it's not a complete surprise to see Broner's pulling out because of, the reasons why Broner's pulling out. But Omar Figueroa is not having a bar of it. I saw what he had to say. I'm going to pull it up for you guys to see if you haven't already. But I've seen Omar Figueroa's response to Adrian Broner pulling out. And here's his statement right here. Now, I don't know if you guys can read it, but I'll read it to you guys quickly. He said here, as we all know, my fight against that MF, we all know what that stands for, Broner, is off. Now, I don't mind because this is something we expected. So we had plans in motion to mitigate most of the aftermath. What really pisses me off, though, is that this guy now wants to use mental health as an excuse. That I have a problem with because it's BS. You don't get to cry mental health now. Not saying you don't suffer from it, as we all can tell that you do. Just don't use it as an excuse now after you've been undisciplined and not taking this fight training camp seriously. If it really is mental health, please show us the proof that you went and sought professional help. You love to post all your crap on social media. Why not let us in on your mental health recovery? You don't get to undermine mine and others' journey and struggles with mental health because of your undisciplined, childish dumbass. Now, Omar Figueroa literally ripping into Adrian Broner there, man. And listen, man, I get the frustration. I get the frustration with Omar Figueroa because at the end of the day, he's been through training camp. He's had to make a lot of sacrifices. He's been pumped up for this fight. This kind of was an end of the road type of fight for both of them. I mean, both of them are not in their prime anymore. And, this is a payday for him. Let's spare a thought for Omar Figueroa, man, and what he's going through. Of course, the situation with Adrian Broner is unfortunate, but let's not forget about Omar Figueroa, man. I mean, he had to go through camp. I'm sure he's had expenses to pay out. Broner ain't going to cover them. So, yeah, I just thought, my thoughts on that is it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to seeing the fight, actually. Not that I predict that any of them are going to go on to anything major, regardless of the result. But I was just kind of curious to see how that one's going to go, where Adrian Broner was really at. However, now he's pulled out. It's not looking like he's going to be in the ring for now anyway. So we'll see what happens. But I just kind of think it's a bit weird because Broner was looking at this, getting back in the ring. He was pleading with Al Heyman and all of his team to get him back in the ring, get him an opponent so he can get in shape, get his mental health, get his body right. However, now he's pulled out of it, and who knows when he's going to come back? Who knows when AB will actually come back, man? But hopefully they have an opponent for Omar Figueroa. Hopefully there isn't a replacement there for him, so this hasn't completely gone to waste. But very unfortunate situation all round. Will be interesting to see what the PBC do with that particular card. And whether it carries on, whether they do have a replacement for Figueroa. He did say that they kind of had a plan in motion for should Broner pull out. So maybe they will have a replacement opponent. More on that to come, I'm sure, during the week. But yeah, if you guys didn't know already, Adrian Broner has pulled out of his fight with Omar Figueroa, citing mental health issues. Now, interesting to get you guys' thoughts on that. And, whether you think we will see Broner back in the ring again. Will he be back in the ring at all anymore? Interesting to see that, man. But just my thoughts on that quickly. Let's move on to the topic at hand now. AJ against Usyk 2. We're going to break this down, of course, a bit more on the show on Wednesday. However, my thoughts on this showdown going into it, man, we all saw the first fight, as I said. Usyk won that for me pretty comprehensively. I think I had it about 9 rounds to 3 when I watched that. But to be honest, I haven't watched it since, so I haven't scored it again. But there was no doubt really who was the winner in that particular fight. Usyk came in, was the underdog to many, considering the fact that he was going up against a bigger, stronger AJ. He's been at heavyweight campaigning for a couple of fights before that, Alexander Usyk, and he wasn't really turning that many heads. He wasn't really that impressive. So going into this fight of AJ, we all know he had the technical ability, but I think that the ultimate prediction across many was that AJ would find a way to win, find a way to overpower Alexander Usyk. However, that didn't happen. Alexander Usyk boxed brilliantly. AJ had the wrong game plan as well, it has to be said. But Alexander Usyk boxed brilliantly, and he even had AJ going at times. We all think about that 12th round. He put on a great performance. So now we're looking at this rematch here between AJ and Usyk. How's it going to go? A lot of time has passed since then. I believe that fight took place in September of last year. So almost a year since they've actually been in the ring. A lot has gone on since then as well, of course, outside of the ring. We all know the situation going on there in Ukraine, deeply affecting Alexander Usyk, considering that he is Ukrainian himself. He was even at one point on the front line. Do you know what I mean? So for him to kind of push that to the back of his head while he focuses on this fight, how much of an impact is that going to have on him? Very interesting, man. Let's get a comment here from Francisco. He said here, not surprising from AB, but disappointing. It was an interesting match. AB may have less credibility than Ryan Garcia now, but I still try to give the benefit of the doubt when it comes to mental health. Yeah, it is it's a sensitive subject, of course. There are many people out there in the world really going through it with mental health, and we can't underestimate that at all. So, we can't deny that. Do you know what I mean? But I think with Broner and the fact with Ryan Garcia as well, what really spun me with Ryan Garcia, for example, was the fact that, and Laurie mentioned this last week as well, by the way, the fact that, cited the mental health as a reason for pulling out straight away. You're flaunting on social media right after that. Now, people cope with it in different ways, I'm sure, but it just didn't come across, it just didn't come across as, it may have been perceived by others, man. I just don't think it did with Ryan Garcia. And it's the same situation here with Broner, because when you're talking a lot of smack about people, saying this and that, you're active online, and then you cite mental health as the issue, like Omar Figueroa was saying, like we've been talking all throughout this build-up, throughout this fight, cracking jokes, doing what you need to do. Then as we approach fight week, you pull out citing mental health issues. So what Omar Figueroa is saying, look, man, show the proof. Show us that you have been seeing someone. Show us that you have been advised not to take this fight. And listen, with someone that sacrificed himself going into camp for that long, you can't really blame him. Do you know what I mean? You can't really blame him. So I kind of hear what you're saying as well, Francisco, on that one. You have to try to give the benefit of the doubt. And it is clear that Broner is going through it in terms of his behavior over the last few years, what he's been getting up to, being in financial difficulty, in and out of court, just baby mama drama, all of that sort of thing. You can see it. So it is really just with Broner, man. I get what Omar Figueroa is saying, and I think Francisco is alluding to that too. Big up Shane in the building. He's put, yo, bro, and he said, isn't this the second time? He's saying AB is finished. Now, Shane, I know you were going to come on the show, but I didn't know whether you wanted to come on with Jeff TV, who was actually messaged me today as well. Perhaps it's going to be on Wednesday, so maybe you want to join on that one instead of this one. This ain't going to be a long video. However, I hear your comments, and AB is finished. I've been seeing that floating around everywhere. Very interesting developments there as to what's going to happen. But back to AJ and Usyk, as I was saying, Usyk won that first fight comprehensively. There's no doubt about it. However, since then, a lot has been going on outside of the ring that's had a huge impact on Alexander Usyk, I'm sure. We've seen it. He's posted it on his social media. Will that affect his focus going into this fight, or will it be the opposite? Will it make him even more determined to win? Now, I'm seeing everybody come out and say, AJ needs to do this. AJ's got to do that. He's got to be more aggressive. And he has, because that is the correct, right? That's right. He does need to be more aggressive in a controlled way, not being reckless with it, because he fought the complete wrong fight last time. However, I'm not seeing many people, and I've said this from the beginning, I'm not seeing many people say that, look, man, Usyk's been in there with him for 12 rounds. He could get better too. It's all about what AJ can do, whatever. But Usyk, I'm sure, was in there. He's a very calculated fighter, man. One of the top guys in the game, of course. He might be number one on many people's pound-for-pound list right now. So he would have saw AJ's movements. He would have been in there with him for 12 rounds before. He'll be going into the rematch knowing what he needs to do. However, I've seen the pictures of him training, and I've seen how big he looks. And I have to admit, I was a bit surprised at that he is kind of bulking up for this fight. Maybe he feels like he's going to be able to knock AJ out this time. Maybe he's going to approach the fight in a different way because, it reminds me of Fury and Wilder for that particular fight, the second fight. AJ, everybody thought, or most people thought that Fury did enough to win that first fight with Wilder, and he boxed and moved in that particular fight. In the second fight, he approached it a completely different way, a way that none of us expected him to approach it, a way that none of us would have advised him to approach it. And he won that comprehensively. He put that without doubt. It was his most impressive fight of the trilogy in terms of performance level, Tyson Fury, that second fight. And what he did was he did his own game plan, not that what anybody thought he would do, but he went out there, went forward, and he ended up knocking out Wilder. Now, is Usyk looking at it the same way? I've been 12 rounds with him. I boxed and moved with him. I know now what I need to do. I can get him out of there. Does he even really need to do that? All he's got to do is win. And there are two ways to win, right? On points or, by knocking somebody out. Usyk's already done that the first time, but with this particular weight that he's putting on and bulking up, does that allude to you that he's going to be, on the front foot, maybe trying to take AJ out this time? Maybe he saw something in that first fight to make him do that. It will be interesting to see what you guys in the comments think about that as well. I think it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have advised it. I'm sure Laurie will say the same thing on Wednesday. It's not something that I would have advised him to do because, look, I mean, he won the first fight at a canter. If you're going to bulk up, that means you're going to stand in the pocket and trade a bit more. That's going to leave you at risk of getting hit by, AJ. And listen, man, he's one of the hardest punchers in the division. You're giving him more of a chance there, if you ask me, because we know that he's going to be more aggressive in this fight. If Usyk does tend to stand in a pocket a bit more and trade with AJ and look to get him out of there, will that be detrimental to his chances? I mean, I would have thought that it would have been simple with him. I mean, as a heavyweight, he's never going to be the biggest heavyweight. Bulking up, putting on muscle, it's good for you. But I mean, in terms of like going up against somebody that's going to be naturally bigger and stronger than you anyway, is that the right decision to make? We'll find out on Saturday night. Francisco says here, I don't think that Usyk bulking helps him, given that he's a boxer. Unless he's thinking that AJ is going to pressure him and he needs extra strength to stand his ground and withstand a little toe-to-toe. Maybe. He did say after the fight, Alexander Usyk, that he was shook up a little bit with some of the punches that AJ landed on him. So maybe he's putting on that extra weight because he still believes he'll be able to be fleet-footed and move, but he wants to be able to, absorb some of the blows a bit better, than he did last time. I mean, he was never in danger of being knocked out, but you saw his face after that first fight. And it really, his face looked worse than AJ's, and he was the winner. Do you know what I mean? So maybe he is thinking that way. However, if I'm AJ and seeing that, I'm like, yeah, that kind of puts me, it kind of boosts me a little bit, because it gives me the impression that maybe he might want to, stand in the ground a bit more. That increases my chances of winning. And also, how will he be acting? How will he be in the later rounds with that extra muscle, that extra acid flowing through him? Do you know what I mean? So, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if it does help him, but it's one of the intriguing factors going into this rematch, man. Usyk putting on a bit of muscle and how that's going to affect him down the stretch. Now, AJ, on the other hand, we know what's happened with him. He's got a new trainer for this fight, no longer working with Rob McCracken. Some of the tactics and some of the corner work in that particular fight for the Usyk fight was, it was left to be questioned in terms of AJ's mentality going in to that first fight. Some of the stuff he was doing, man, like going into the ring, like we heard that he went to Clifton Mitchell and said to him, asking him about tactics, like right before the fight. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff was a bit weird to me. How was his mindset walking to the ring? A lot of people point at that, saying, was he really focused? Was he really prepared for the sort of battle that he was going in? Now, he's taken a different direction. He's got Robert Garcia there in the corner, very experienced trainer, managed plenty of world champions, a former fighter himself, former world champion himself, I believe. And now he's renowned for being getting his fighters to be aggressive. You see some of the guys that he's worked with in the past, the likes of Fernando Vargas and Marcos Maidana, his own brother Mikey Garcia, who can box and can be aggressive at the same time. He's going to be now in the corner of AJ. Do you know what I mean? And he's going to be able to. It's no secret as to what they're looking to do. They're going to be a bit more calculated. They're going to be a bit more aggressive, and they're going to try and hurt Usyk and really stamp their authority as the bigger and stronger man, which is the correct tactic to do here. Now, he's never going to fight Usyk like a Chisora. He's not going to bull in and put pressure on him like that, wing around punches. That's not how AJ fights. Fights nothing like Chisora does. But a strong, stiff jab, to break up anything that Usyk can do is the starting point for me. A strong, stiff jab and punching with authority, man, not waiting. Holding the center of the ring where you can, putting the pressure on Usyk, working the body. Do you know what I mean? Working the body a bit more and, being more calculated in terms of your aggression, man. I think that those are the sort of things that Robert Garcia is going to be implying AJ to do. It's whether or not he can go out and do it. Because like I said, Usyk can be very slippery. He's a southpaw. AJ has already said, he had difficulty with the southpaw stance, hasn't faced that many southpaws. Usyk is not just any old southpaw, unless you're speaking to Johnny Nelson. But yeah, Usyk, he's a tremendous fighter. And what AJ needs to do is realize that I'm not going to be able to outbox this guy by sticking and moving. I'm not going to be able to box with him to a 12-round point decision. It's not going to work. I need to stamp my authority and push out a stiff jab, throw the right hand, work the body, and try and manhandle Usyk where he can. Let's see if he actually does that. But I think that AJ is going to have to imply that sort of tactics for me going into this rematch, man. Not overload, not overdo it. We've seen him gas out at times during fights. Straight away, I think about the Klitschko fight, that 5th round, where he really went for it. ended up knocking Klitschko down. However, we saw he was struggling, throughout before he got the knockout. Now, here he just, like I said, he needs to apply pressure effectively, not get caught in the pocket too much with exchanges because he could get caught, and really just try and stamp his authority on Alexander Usyk. Easier said than done, right? We're not just talking about any old fighter here. This is going to be a very tough challenge for AJ, but I'm sure, he's had 12 rounds of Usyk himself. He's got a new trainer in the corner. He's got a fresh voice. It's going to be taking place in Saudi Arabia. How much will the pressure be off AJ a little bit there, considering that the fight will be taking place in the Middle East rather than it being in front of his home fans? I mean, how will that affect him? We've seen him do it before, fight in the Middle East against Andy Ruiz, totally different type of opponent, I know. However, he didn't have his home fans there behind him. Didn't have him in the first fight either, actually. But yeah, he was able to get the win there on that particular occasion. And Usyk, who's never suffered a loss in his professional career, AJ's going to have to do something nobody's ever done. But while I say that, I think about the Maris Bradis fight and how he fought Alexander Usyk and how close he was to pushing him to his first L. There were a lot of people out there that thought that Bradis did enough to get the decision. And he didn't go out there all out swinging against Alexander Usyk. He applied steady pressure and had a very good solid jab behind him as well. It broke up a lot of what Usyk was doing. And that was the toughest fight of Usyk's career so far. Do you know what I mean? Many people thought that Bradis did enough to win that. Usyk ended up getting the decision, but that was the toughest fight of his career for sure. Let's have a look here. Francisco's got a comment. He says here, he said that one already. Big up Hugo Bossman. He said here, Ben or Eubank. He's got Ben on points. Listen, we'll talk about that on another show, bro. We're talking about AJ and Usyk here, but just to answer your question, I got Eubank for sure. Now, going back to this particular fight here with AJ and Usyk, I'm just curious as to how this is going to go, man. The closer we get to it, the more excited I am about it. I just think that there's a lot on the line here, particularly for Anthony Joshua. If he loses, what happens next for him? If it's a comprehensive defeat, is that the end? I'm seeing people say that online. I'm seeing it floating around, and you know how people can say that, like they do tend to say stuff like that, particularly with someone who's been as successful as AJ has. He's been there, he's done it, he's reached the pinnacle in terms of being a unified heavyweight champion, not quite undisputed, but he has been the unified heavyweight champion. He's had some big wins. He's financially set for life. He's in his 30s now. How much longer can he really carry on at the top? Does he still have the motivation for that? Hugo Bossman says here, I'll tune into that as well. Yeah, no worries, bro. No worries. How much motivation is there for AJ? He seems very motivated going into this rematch. I'm not denying that. But, should he lose again comprehensively, where does he go from here? Do you know what I mean? Who would be there left to fight for him in the heavyweight division? If Usyk was to win that again, I mean, he's not going to have a rubber match if he loses again. So where would he go? Would he fight somebody like a Dillian White? The belts, Tyson Fury, is he going to give that up? We all know that he announced his retirement again last weekend. However, we don't know if he's really going to see that through or not. I'm yet to be convinced. Let's just say that until he gives up the WBC heavyweight title, then to me he's still an active fighter. He did, however, give up the Ring Magazine title, which will be on the line this weekend. So until he gives up the WBC title, though, I can't believe that Tyson Fury has retired or not. But as for AJ, like I said, if he loses, where does he go? Is the Tyson Fury fight out there for him? Will that still be, how big will that be over here in the UK at this point? Dillian White, we saw Dillian White post a picture of him and AJ after he lost to Tyson Fury. And he said that, that fight could be on the cards as well. Dillian White also came out last weekend saying that he wants to get back in the ring. Could that be an option for AJ to return should he lose? Other than that, in terms of opponents, I mean, Wilder is the one that we'd all have to see, right? That would make sense. So there still are fights out there for him. He has signed a long-term network deal with DAZN. So I don't think he would retire should he lose comprehensively to Alexander Usyk. I think that he will continue. But it's just who's out there that's going to be marketable enough and that's going to be able to, get AJ the sort of money he craves if he was to lose to Usyk again. However, if he wins it, then he becomes unified heavyweight champion. He brings the belts back to London. Fury, I'm sure, will be tempted out of his retirement. and we could see them two get it on. So listen, as I said, the closer we get to this, I'm getting even more excited. At the beginning, I was just like, you know what, man, this rematch, like, yeah, it's cool, but I'm just sick of the rematch clauses, and I feel like it's holding up the division. Like, I wanted to see undisputed, whoever it was. I wanted to see all the belts, sorted out in that heavyweight division. We were really close to getting it, but all these rematch clauses, man, all it does to me is hold up the division. So originally, I wasn't completely excited about this rematch, especially considering that Usyk won that first fight pretty comprehensively. But as it is with boxing fans, man, the closer we get to it, the more excited I am. And I wonder if you guys feel the same. Big up Juan Garcia. He's put here, is it true that Broner cancelled his fight with Omar Figueroa? Yeah, it is true, Juan. I spoke about that a bit earlier on the show. Adrian Broner has pulled out of his fight with Omar Figueroa, citing mental health issues. Omar Figueroa has since responded to that. He's ripped into Adrian Broner, saying that he doesn't believe him. He said he wants to see the proof that Adrian Broner has sought professional help. Because you got to look at it, like I said earlier, you got to look at it from his point of view, man. He's been in training camp, he's been sacrificing, and then for Broner to pull out today on fight week, you got to figure it. You got to be sympathetic towards Figueroa, man. So I get his frustration, but just to answer your question, Juan, that is true. Adrian Broner has pulled out of his fight with Figueroa. It's yet to be seen whether Figueroa will have a replacement opponent, but I'm sure an announcement will be made in the next coming days or so. Daniel White, big up Daniel White. He said here, there's a lot of money on the table for him, even if he loses. But like you say, would the hunger be there? It would be a long way back to a world title. What percentage chance are you giving AJ? Oh, man. Listen, Usyk for me is still the favorite. He's still the odds-on favorite for me. The odds have definitely got a bit closer since this fight was first announced up until now. You got to put certain factors in there, such as what's going on in Ukraine right now. What sort of impact is that going to have on Alexander Usyk? We know that he was on the front line. We know how deeply it affected him. And it's unfortunate for AJ, because if he is going to be the first man to hand Usyk his first professional loss, some people are going to run to that. They're going to say, look, man, Usyk, he's probably going through a lot. Did he beat the best Usyk? Like, you're going to hear all that, which is unfortunate, but it is a factor for me a little bit. So while I still give Usyk the odds-on chance to do it, they have narrowed a little bit. The percentage, though, to answer your question, the percentage I'm going to give AJ in this fight, man, I'm going to say 35 to 40, man. Usyk 60%, 65%, AJ 35, 40. I'd say that. Maybe 65-35, man, for me. I'm expecting Usyk to win it again, but it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible for AJ to win it, man. Usyk is not invincible. Do you know what I mean? AJ's looking in very good shape, by the way. He's definitely up for it. He looks motivated. He's had a long camp. He knows what he's up against. So he's definitely got a chance, man. I'm not ruling him out at all. But for me, rematches tend to go the same way, right? Normally. I mean, there has been some famous examples, but they tend to go the same way. Some guys might just have your number. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm leaning towards Usyk again. 60-65% Alexander Usyk, 35-40 for AJ. Maybe it might change closer to the fight. What about you? Let me know what you think, Daniel, how you see this one going. Who have you got and what percentage do you have either way? Juan Garcia says, man, I was looking forward to that fight. I like both fighters. Me too. Francisco says here, if AJ loses badly, it would be a major blow to his career and stardom. If he loses in a good competitive fight, he'd still be a top heavyweight and get big fights. If he wins, his stock rises massively. I think you summed it up pretty perfect there. I think you summed up, yeah, that's literally it. If he loses in a good competitive fight, there will still be fights out there for him. Like I said, he has that DAZN network deal that's recently just been signed. So, he's been tied to a long-term contract with them. If he was to lose comprehensively, maybe like the first fight, or let's say even worse, if he was to get stopped or anything like that, that would be a bad look. He might be a hard sell, but there are fights out there. Dillian White for one, that would still do some sort of numbers over here. There are other fights out there. The Wilder fight would still be big. They'll both be coming off a loss then. People will still tune into that. Do you know what I mean? So, there are still options out there for AJ should he lose comprehensively or lose at all. But it's just a hunger thing for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, where is he at if he does lose? He's achieved so much, rightfully so. I mean, he's achieved so much from the amateurs to the pros. And, now he's in this crossroads in his career right now. Other question here from Francisco. Anything good on the undercard? I just had a look at the undercard. We've got Callum Smith. That will be in action. We've got Hrgovic. That will be in action against Zhang. That heavyweight fight, that will be the chief support, I believe. Then you've got Callum Smith. And then on the undercard as well, you've got... who else you got on the undercard, man? They're the fights that stood out to me. Callum Smith fighting for the European title, I believe, and Hrgovic is on the undercard as well against the Chinese heavyweight Zhang. So I'll be tuning into those fights there. But of course, it's all about the main event, man. Happening in Saudi, by the way. So Francisco, what time will you be tuning into that then? Because I believe that start time is going to be a bit earlier. I think it might be 8, 9 o'clock over here, English time. So what time would you be tuning into that then? You'd be tuning into it early in the day, right? Compared to normal. So it'd be a bit different. But as that fight is happening over in the Middle East, they're about 5 hours ahead of us. So we'll be looking at that about 8, 9 o'clock. So from where you are in Arizona, that might be like midday-ish for you. Daniel White says here, pretty much the same. I'd say 60-40 in Usyk's favor too. We're pretty much in agreement there. Guys, just my quick thoughts on it, man. We're going to be talking a lot more throughout the week. We got the show on Wednesday, myself and Laurie. I'm going to get Jeff TV and Shane on here, get their breakdown on the fight as well. And I'm really looking forward to this, man, as we get closer. Let me know as well in the comments for anyone here and anyone that joins and watches this a bit later on, whether you'd like me to do some sort of watch along. I know there is a watch along that is going to be taking place that Laurie will be joining. I might do my own one on here though. Do you know what I mean? I might do something, or I'll definitely be going live after the fight, but maybe do something. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know, and we'll sort something out there for sure. But in the meantime, guys, man, just my thoughts on it. Look out for more content over the week. Francisco says it starts at 11 o'clock over there. Yeah, it's crazy. Look out for more content over the week, guys. Looking forward to getting your opinions. Thank you for joining the stream. I know it was a bit late notice today, so I appreciate anyone that managed to join. Anyone that joins a bit later on, leave a comment. I'll happily get back to you guys. And look out for our next video on Wednesday. Myself and Laurie on the podcast breaking this fight down in a bit more detail. We'll also be talking about Teofimo Lopez and some of the other action that took place over the weekend, man. So big up to everybody. Francisco says here, more Daryl is always good. Good work, brother. Thank you, man. Much appreciated, bro. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll catch up with you guys very soon.